Good morning, commissioners. Jose, do you want to say any words? Or? Okay, all right.
Good morning.
Okay, good morning, commissioners. This is a quick 5-minute presentation on the Better Bus Project. So my name is Az. I'm the executive director of Trans Alliance Miami. We are an organization advocating for walkable streets, bikeable neighborhoods, better public transit. So let's skip straight to reality. The reality is that in our county, 2 out of 3 of the transit riders in our county are on buses. And actually, coming to and from Miami Beach, right now, this is our only option. So it's incredibly important to focus on the reality of the system that we have and the near-term changes we can make to improve it. If you look at our county bus system, you might think that everything looks fine and dandy, but take a closer look and you might find routes like this that go in all sorts of crazy directions. You will find that only 5 county routes arrive every 15 minutes or less throughout the day, and you will find that municipal and county services have never been comprehensively planned to work together. So I'm going to tell you about the Better Bus Project, and as we think about this network, let's think about what would happen if we designed a bus network that is designed to maximize access to opportunity. So, as Milo said, we are redesigning the bus network. We are integrating the 3 major trolley systems, the City of Miami, Miami Beach, and Coral Gables. And we're starting from a clean slate because this system has been incredibly politicized over the past 30 years. Not so much in Miami Beach. I'm mainly referring to the county. Cities that have done this sort of exercise in the past have seen their overall transit ridership increase. These are a few of them. And as Milo says, it's a collaboration between Trans Alliance, the Department of Transportation and Public Works, municipal transportation departments, and also Jad Walker and Associates, who is a national expert that have done this in cities around the world. This is also a very unique project in the way that it's funded. It's being led by Trans Alliance in partnership with you, the City of Miami, the county, funded by Microsoft Transit Center, the Miami Foundation, the Health Foundation of South Florida, and many more. So we just completed a full evaluation of the bus system. We released a very large report. I'm only going to show you 2 slides from that report, which is the foundation of everything we're going to see today, which is the color coding of the routes. So the routes that you see in red are the routes that arrive every 15 minutes throughout the day. As we go down the colors, purple every 20, dark blue every 30, light blue every 60. This is the color scheme that we're going to use for the entire presentation. So very briefly, our highest ridership routes, they're very frequent, they run all day, they don't take lunch breaks, they're direct, and they connect people to jobs in vast quantities. I'm going to show you the network concepts, and these 2 network concepts will be used to inform the final network plan that will go to vote both here and at the County Commission. So the big question when we design any bus network, should we focus on coverage, which is spreading out our service and spreading it thin, creating somewhat circuitous routes, but reaching every corner of any fictitious place like this, or should we focus on ridership? The highest concentration of people, the highest concentration of opportunities, best possible service in direct routes that arrive very frequently. It's the balance between these 2 ideas that form the basis of a bus system redesign. And as a cost-neutral project, the question gets a bit difficult to answer. How we answer that is through a combination of data and input. In terms of data, very briefly, we know how many people get on and off at every stop in Miami-Dade County. We've mapped out everything from residential density to employment density, senior density, poverty density, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Gives you a sort of an X-ray of the county in terms of where transit would succeed the most. In terms of input, this is the part I'm going to spend a bit more time on. We did our first community survey that helped inform the concept that you see. We've done workshops and presentations for municipal and county leaders, which some of you or your aides have attended. We've done presentations around the county, including on Miami Beach. We talked to your bus operators. We talked to people at transit stops, at farmers market. The list goes on. And actually, a few days ago, we were in South Beach, and we've also been in North Beach holding a workshop where we had members of the community attend. So there's been quite a bit of engagement already, and we haven't even got to something that you're voting on in terms of alignments. So there are many other ways that people can connect with us, including a text line. People text us all the day, every day, and we have a team managing a text line all the way from virtual workshops that we're planning later in the month. And we have a community survey that's out to help us decide between these 2 network concepts. If you want me to, at the end of this presentation, I can give you a preview of the local responses.
Yeah.
So the 2 network concepts, very briefly. In November, the county is going to make a final decision on these. Your very long committee name has recommended ridership. And here's your existing network. Focus on the red lines. In the coverage network, you start to see more frequent service, but the service is still pretty spread out, still some 60-minute routes. And in the ridership concept, we focus on the most jobs, the most opportunities. How can we connect them with frequent service? I'll drop down to Miami Beach in a second. Basic county-wide outcomes, the number of jobs reachable by the average resident in 45 minutes on transit, up by 33% in coverage, 51% in ridership. The number of jobs reachable by the average person in poverty in 60 minutes, up by 32,000 in coverage, 50,000 in ridership. The percentage of residents within a quarter mile of transit, which is 60% today, stays the same in coverage, drops down to 48% in ridership, so people might have a longer walk or a longer distance to access transit. I'll give you Miami Beach specific figures in a moment. The percentage of residents within a quarter mile of frequent transit, however, almost triples within the ridership concept, somewhere in between in coverage. So let's talk about Miami Beach. When we talk about Miami Beach, it's first important to recognize that when we talk about activity density, and this map is a map of activity density around the county, employment plus residential coming together, you'll see that Miami Beach has incredibly high activity density. And the more you go towards a ridership concept, these concepts are drawn based on activity density. So when we start to look at the network, on the left is the existing, in the middle is coverage, on the right is ridership. The big picture, and if you want, after the presentation, I can go in more detail. We have a system that hasn't been comprehensively designed, a lot of duplication, a lot of things that hold the system back from being incredibly useful for people, hold the system back from reaching sort of the maximum levels of usability for people who might want to abandon their cars, for example. As you start to go through the network, you'll start to see a system where Miami Beach can do the best possible local service, the county can do the best possible regional service, and it's a much more simplified network that people can actually look at and understand where they're going, because the current network, I would say, is not that. A quick example of what this can do, this is called an isochrome. It measures how far you can get in 45 minutes. This is from South Beach. I'm not going to show you all of them, just South Beach. We measure very specifically how much further and faster can people travel. This is within the coverage concept, and we measure the change in jobs and residents that are reachable, which only increases in the ridership concept. This is just South Beach. Okay, Miami Beach, specific outcomes, last 5 or 6 slides. The average resident in Miami Beach within the coverage concept can access 40% more jobs in 60 minutes, and 47% more jobs in 60 minutes in the ridership concept. To flip that around, though, how many residents can reach the average job location in Miami Beach, because we are an employment center as well as a residential center? Goes up by 41% in coverage, goes up by 50% in ridership. In terms of seniors, the thing with seniors is that I might be able to wait at a bus stop for 20 minutes and I might have an all right time, even though I'll be quite sad about it. But seniors have a much harder time when it comes to frequency. Waiting at a bus stop for 20 minutes affects them more than it would someone like me. So the way that we frame it is in terms of frequency. Within the existing network, 73% of them are within service that comes between 11 and 15 minutes. By the time you get to ridership, that's dropped to 71% of them are within 10 minutes of a frequent service with no loss in access. So what we're asking you today is to take a position on the two concepts. For more information, you can find our website. If any of the things I mentioned in the presentation you'd like me to come back to, let me know.
Wow.